Go ahead and drop your name in the comments. Hey.
She lost what she wanted to say, but it's alright, cause I'ma pick it up, baby. Hey, if you mess with us, gonna drop a comment, like, subscribe, and come and watch us again. Next time we gonna be speaking about courtship, our courtship, what God has done. He brought us a long way. She acting real fun. I don't know what's wrong with her, but it's okay, cause I know God gave me her anyway, and I love her. Yes, I do. And you act a fool, I'ma show you. Hey.
Rapping like it's 1983. Don't know what's going on. Please. Uh-oh. You didn't like that line, guys. Hello, amazing people. Welcome if you are new to this channel. Welcome for the first time. And if you're not new, welcome back. My name is Imani Baldwin. I am the owner of this channel, and I have a special guest today.
Hey guys, I'm Dexter's. Hey guys.
How many Dexters are you? Take two.
Can we start over?
This isn't really a guest because obviously you've seen him in many other videos if you look through the channel.
I'm Dexter. As you all know, I've been in other videos, like she said. I'm Imani's boyfriend. And I'm happy to be here, again.
Today we wanted to come on and have a special video talking about how we met. So just a little story time with y'all, get some popcorn and gather around, get a little blankie, and let's go. So this story is gonna be kind of told from our two different perspectives because he has his side and I have my side. It's the same story but just different lenses because we were meeting. So I think it might be helpful to know what was going on in his life and in my life and how it kind of intertwined.
So we went to Transformation Conference in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This was before we both knew each other. She was living in Maryland then. I had just moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, where we both live now. So we're going to go back to that and then bring y'all up to date. Ladies first.
So yeah, so we're at Transformation Conference. Pretty much we're both at the conference, but we didn't see each other at all while we were there. But we ended up being in the same group chat, which is the 12. So shout out to the 12. Hello if you're watching. That is our family. So we ended up being in that same group chat. And in the group chat, I was talking about like how I was getting ready to take a faith walk and move to Charlotte. And I shared that with the group. And that's when Dexter pops out with the fact that he had just moved to Charlotte as well.
A little backstory for myself. Before I came to Charlotte, I was actually dating a young lady and God kind of told me, hey, it was time to break that off. So, I was kind of like questioning God, like, hey God, what is it that you want me to do? I want to trust you. So if that's what you're telling me to do, reveal it to that young lady as well. Which he ended up doing. Me and her ended up breaking it off. And then I ended up moving to Charlotte right after I came back from the Army. Came to Charlotte for a month and a half. And then that's when I went to conference. Ended up at conference and Imani was there, like she said, with her friends. It was crazy that it was 3 days that we were there, and 2 of the 3 days I met her friends, and she was never with them every time that I was with them. But she ended up running into my friends when I actually left the conference the 3rd day. So we ended up, like she said, in a group with the 12, and that's how we got to, know each other through that group, where we never really even then communicated on that level. But where her faith walk kind of took its stance for her to start moving in the direction of moving to Charlotte, that's when I think God kind of took the wheel and was like, oh yeah, this is what I was waiting on. When we first got in the group, it was like, God, like, hey God, I'm focused on you. I'm in a relationship with you based off the last situation that I was in prior to going to conference and joining this group. We're in the group or whatever, and I'm like, okay, these are nice looking young women, these are my sisters in Christ. And I was like, God, I'm not here for that, so if you want to use me as a vessel to help these sisters, I'm here. As well as these brothers, I'm here, but I'm not here to engage with, talk to, get to know nobody on that deep level, because I already told you, God, I'm focused on you and me and you are one. God kind of, I guess, had a different plan for me for that. So everybody dropped their IGs in the group, and I checked out, her IG.
You looked at my page.
She had 2 different pages, so I kind of checked out her page, and she had a fitness page as well. So I checked out her fitness page, and I'm like, okay, let me see what this is about. And she was already in the group talking about early in the morning at 5 a.m. She was waking up every day. So I'm like, okay, and I like to work out and I'd be up. So I'm like, okay, let me see if she's really about that life, which I figured out she was, because she was up every day working out. But yeah, I was kind of like somewhat, I guess, choosing, if you want to say, on her stuff. And just trying to see who she was, because I don't know, I just felt like there was something different. I guess I could say in a way. So I was just really interested in like, okay, what can I find more of, you know? And well, let me tell y'all, you can find out a lot about a person from their social media and Instagram.
Even by what they don't post.
Yes, you can find out a lot about a person on their social media. So I mean, I kind of used that tool and that mechanism to kind of figure out, you know, hey, who she was. And I kind of saw she flowed through the group as well. So I kind of was like interested. And I was trying to fight the nudge with God, cause I'm like, God, I told you, like, hey, I ain't focused on that. But me and her actually had that conversation like a while after, you know, we started to open up to each other about, you know, how the situation played itself out and how we got to the point of actually talking.
All right, so when I came to Charlotte, I came down for a weekend. That's the weekend that changed everything. And that's what we're gonna go into, because it was very unexpected. Yeah, it wasn't like anything special. I was gonna go and see the city for myself. I really didn't have any plans. I was gonna stay with my sister, but then our plans got mixed and messed up. And so she wasn't at the home on the Friday night that I came down, so I needed somewhere to stay for that night. And I was like already in Charlotte. I had all my bags. I didn't know anyone else that was in town. I hadn't given anyone like a heads up or anything. And so, but I knew Dexter lived here, but I didn't know him. I hadn't even met him. I hadn't even seen him in person. I'd seen this man in a group chat. That was it. So I pulled over and I prayed, and I was like, Lord, should I call and ask for him, you know, for a place to stay? I prayed and I had peace about it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna ask her, you know, see what he knows or see if he can accommodate for the time being. Very bold, sure did. And I gave a call and I was like, hey, I know, you know, you weren't expecting to link up till later. I just got into Charlotte. Can I stay with you? Because I don't have anywhere to stay. In my head, I'm thinking like, he probably has plans with young ladies. He could have a girl over there right now. I didn't know what in the world was going on. I was just like, I mean, just ask, because if you don't ask, you don't know what's going on. But yeah, he said yes. And I went and got some dinner, and then I came over, and I ended up staying that weekend.
And then I'll pick up on my side of that part of the story. She ended up coming, like she said, she kind of didn't tell nobody that she was coming down. She reached out to a friend and was telling her friend, hey, you know, I need somewhere to stay. Her friend kind of, I guess, opened her door for her. And I was already planning that weekend to go to a birthday celebration for one of my homegirls that I met in Charleston. In the midst of that, kind of one of her friends was kind of trying to like link up and meet me in the same.
It was supposed to be a double date.
It wasn't supposed to be a double date, but we were meeting for the first time. You know, she reached out to me. She ended up reaching out and was like, hey, you know, I need somewhere to, you know, kind of stay. And, you know, she did it in a great way. It wasn't nothing like, oh yeah, you know, let me come stay with you, woo, woo, woo. It was just like, hey, you know, I need somewhere to stay. We kind of already had some type of form of communication built because of the 12 group. Yeah, so I told her, yeah, it's cool, you know, and transparent moment, I didn't have furniture or anything in my house yet. So when she was coming down, I'm like, dang, I gotta scramble to figure out, you know, some way for her to be able to sleep somewhere. So I went to Walmart and bought her air mattress, you know? And I was like, dang, if she sleep on this air mattress, she a real one, like. So I actually gave her the air mattress because me and my roommate had just moved in. And I was sleeping on the floor. I had covers and stuff, and I was like, man, I'm fine. You know, I'm a guy. You know, I know God told me to move her. I can survive. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, so I can survive. I know what survival looks like. She actually pulled up to my apartment. When she pulled up, yeah, I came outside. I was like, you know, I didn't know what to expect. I knew from pictures and, you know, her voice and seeing her on FaceTime, I was like, I know she's attractive. But then when I kind of seen that person, I was like, oh yeah, she's gorgeous, you know, she's beautiful. And then, you know, she kind of got out the car, her back was turned, it was crazy. And she like turned around, she had a some twist in, and yeah, I think she drove her grandmother's car down, and I was just like, oh yeah, you know. Yeah.
So that's how we met, and then that weekend was an interesting weekend. So we were at the arcade, like he said, for H's birthday, and so I ended up coming with him, and it was literally like so fun. I wasn't planning to go in. I didn't know what was gonna happen that night. I didn't know what plans he had. he's like, hey, you wanna go with me to this arcade? So I went with him and we had a really good time. And I like beat him in like most of the games. Now let's be honest about I beat him in most of the games. I did. Which was interesting because you were very competitive. And I was like, oh,
I don't take L's.
I was like, oh, he's not getting a little upset. He's like, oh, like, trying to play all these different games just to find one that he could beat me in.
The young lady that worked there was trying to help her
So
win at the
funny.
games and
Yeah, it was
cheering her
great.
on. I'm like, yeah, this is
It
crazy.
was a great time, but it was literally like we were playing games like not like we knew each other forever, but it was so very natural, you know. And it was fun and it was friendship and it was a good time. So we did that and we came back to the apartment afterwards and you know talked about how fun that was and stuff. And then we had a conversation for like
3-4 hours.
Yeah. Mind you, this is all the first day we're meeting, right? And so we had this conversation for 3 or 4 hours. So many points of alignment, and we kind of traced back like our past 2 or 3 years of things that were happening in our lives and saw just different things happening at different times. There was so much alignment and a lot of things he was speaking about, I was passionate about, or I discerned certain things and we both talked about those things together. It was just a lot of like, wow, like aha moments kind of, and there was so much God in that conversation as well. You could just tell it was something different. And then you got creeped out and said it's time to go to bed because it was good to be like a lot of like unexpected connection. And it wasn't really even flirty. I can't really say it was flirty. It was just like a lot of things that aligned themselves, like events that were happening in my life that aligned to what was happening in his life. And we didn't know each other those years before, but it was so much strategically that had been done. It was like, it didn't seem like coincidence, you know? And that got like really clear. And so we were like, okay, let's just go to bed. The next morning, Kelsey came, who apparently she was already gonna come up here that weekend anyway to see Dexter. So she comes and I'm here. And that morning, we took to tell them what happened that next morning, where you went that morning.
That next morning, I actually had a link up.
A what?
A link up.
A what?
Link up with a friend that I met down here.
Boy, the way the stories is just...
A couple weeks before, you know, she came down, I had met a friend down here and we went to the mountain and we ended up going to climb the mountain or whatever, and during the mountain time we kind of had an intentional conversation and I was just, you know, able to be transparent and open with her about, you know, kind of what I was doing and where I was at. And that was just a moment for us to kind of, I guess, close the door and just be friends. You know, that was just a moment for me where I realized, like, you know, I really was feeling, I guess, Imani, because I was thinking about her the whole time on the mountain. Even in the conversation that the me and young lady was having, I just was like, you know, hey, you know, I knew that I wanted to go back to the crib and, you know, see what was going on. And in the midst of all that, Imani was in here knocked out sideways on the air mattress.
Exactly. I was sleeping until like 11. I hadn't slept that hard in like months.
Deep sleep, because I ended up texting her. I'm like, hey, you know, you good? You know, and she texted me back like 11:30, and I'm like, bro, are you still asleep? Like, any other day you up at 5 a.m. in the group texting us. But
I had some good sleep that night.
yeah, it was a lot of God from that moment we met until even up to this point. Kelsey got into town and just God kept showing out.
So when Kelsey came, I was telling Kelsey, I was like, something's kind of weird about Dex. So we had a long conversation, a lot of stuff aligned. I was like, but it's kind of like awkward. I don't know if I'm overthinking it. She was like, it's okay, babe, don't worry about it. You know, you're just like, you know, really sweet girl. And I was like, yeah. And so then when Dexter came back, he hadn't even left yet. And Kelsey came back and was like, you might need to ask God what's going on. And I was like, what? She's like, I can see it. I can see it all over you. And I was like, oh my, what are you talking about? So of course I asked God because I was like, I didn't want to be like just out here, you know, liking anybody, doing anything on emotion. So I was like, Lord, if you have something to say, and not something to say, I really want to know if this is going to be my husband. Yeah. You know, I want you to confirm it. And so I asked for a specific thing, and I prayed before that night. I prayed and said, God, if this is going to be my husband that I'll marry, then I want you to tell him and have him tell someone else to tell me, because I didn't want he and I to talk about it and then it become overlapped, and you know, your emotions can get in it. There's a lot of deceit that could happen, you know, and persuasion. I wanted to know that it came from God directly to Dexter, if that was God's will, you know, that way I would have peace. So I wanted to know, like, on the side, kind of what God was doing in him and told him and all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to be sure. I wanted to be really, really, really sure. But, yeah, I prayed for this specific sign. It didn't happen after I prayed for it. You know how you pray for a sign and you're like, okay, God, you know. So then the next morning, I was like, well, nothing happened that night. So I was like, maybe I'm just tripping. Maybe I'm in my head. And I was telling Kelsey, I was like, girl, I was like, you know, they just probably in my head. So, you know, I was getting myself ready to go. And I asked to go to church with Dexter, and he told me no. He said, you need to get on the road and go home. And I was like, but I want to go to church. I was like, you know what, this man don't want me to go to his church, it's fine. I was on my way to a diner to get coffee and then breakfast before I went on the road. And then he texted me and was like, I think God is telling me that you need to be in church now. I was like, well, yeah, I told you too. So then I get in the car and I go to church.
Yeah, I wasn't listening.
And Haywood's at the door, big old smile, so sweet. He's like, hey, and I come in church. And then I sit down, and probably like, what, 2 minutes after I sat down is when the sermon title popped up. And the sermon title was Partnership. And I said, oh, buddy, this is funny. Because it was already a weird weekend of like, what's going on with this person? But still, I was like, this isn't the sign that I asked God for. After that sermon was over, we left. I mean, I left, got back on the road. And yeah, and I called Kelsey and I was like, well, Kelsey, you know, the sign that I asked God for didn't happen. But it's definitely gonna be, you know, good friendship. I think it's really nice. And I was really making peace of it on my way back home, you know, on the drive. Then Kelsey called me and was like, girl. And I was like, yeah. She was like, did you talk to Dexter? And I was like, no, I didn't. And then she's like, oh, well, I just got off the phone with him and he says that he thinks you're his wife. And I was like, wow, really? Because this is the thing. The whole weekend, I thought I was in my own head. I didn't know for sure if he was thinking things. And I was asking Kelsey, and Kelsey was giving me some, but she kept pointing back that, just ask God, trust God, God will show you. And I'm like, all right, well, you know, if she's not giving me the whole he does or does not like you, maybe I'm imagining things, you know? But she's a good friend to do that because she knows that I had to hear it from God, you know?
She was protecting.
Right.
My backstory to all of this was, kind of after Friday night, I kind of figured that God was trying to talk to me and tell me something about her after that conversation. And that's kind of why I kind of told her like, hey, it was time to go to bed. So I ended up actually sleeping in my roommate's room in his closet. It was some weird stuff.
Humble beginnings.
Yeah, I just was like, hey, you know, let me let her have what she need and I'll sleep in the opposite room, you know. So yeah, and I ended up telling him actually before I went to bed that night, I was like, bro, I actually think this girl is my wife, you know. I felt like God was telling me that. I just felt like a certain peace. I felt like a connection and just a vulnerability and, you know, authenticity of a relationship between our friendship of just where things were started with us meeting for the first time. So I was like, you know, I just, something was different, especially after that conversation that Friday night. That Sunday, Kelsey got up, she went on, headed back to Georgia. Imani was going back to Maryland. And I, you know, I've been a worried person, a worried friend, you know, just trying to get her home because the drive was 6 hours. I'm like, hey, you know, maybe you should just go and get on the road so you don't be on the road all day late driving. And she's like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna go get some coffee and I'm gonna stop at the coffee shop and probably just put on Michael Todd, Transformation Church. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I ended up going to church and like she said, as soon as I get to church, I called her, I'm like, man, you know, God, I think, telling me, you know, come on to church. So that's when she, like she said, she came and Haywood was at the door. And I don't even think I actually came outside to welcome her in. No. I think one of my friends from the church, came and got her. And I was telling her like, hey, you know, my friend coming to church. So yeah, she ended up coming. And yeah, the series was insane of the topic. And I was like, oh, this is so God.
It was so weird and uncomfortable. I was like, partnership.
Yeah, right. When she left, I checked on Kelsey. I called Kelsey to check her and see that she had made it home. And I just was talking to Kelsey and I was telling her like, yeah, you know, I actually think, you know, Imani might be, you know, somebody who I could see myself dating and doing life with. Because I knew I was just at in my life. I was just in the season and the stage where I kind of had, you know, told God that the next person, you know, that I seen him present to me that I would be fully committed to and that I wanted to do life with. I wanted to be my wife. So I was just asking God for clear signs. And even then I felt in my spirit that God was telling me, you know, hey, that is who you're supposed to be with. That next kind of series of events, the next couple of days of the week we were coming up to, I think we dodged each other kind of sort of.
Yeah, we didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, because we didn't want to.
Well, because I mean, Kelsey told me, but I hadn't talked to him. Yeah. But that was what I asked God for, that God would tell Dexter and that Dexter would tell someone else and I would find out through someone else. So it was exactly what I asked for in prayer, but So I had that piece as well, but I didn't know how to go about like starting that conversation.
We end up actually talking a couple days later and casual conversation, you know, just flirting. I think we started flirting then.
It got a little flirty.
Yeah, and then after that, we kind of had a conversation about, you know, the weekend and the stance of where we were. And I think that's when we found out we liked, you know, how the weekend went. And we were interested in each other. And we wanted to take things slow and just give it to God. And that's kind of what we did. And that's how we ended up, you know, getting to where we are today.
So that's the how we met story. So once I moved to Charlotte, I went to Charlotte at that was in the beginning of October 2019. I moved to Charlotte in the end of October 2019. So that is when we began to actually spend more time together, move towards dating and doing all those kind of things. I hope this was enjoyable for you guys. I do want to make a second part of like our courtship story and just the lessons that we learned. Boy, yeah, we might not have to go through every lesson because, child,
yeah, we got some stories for you guys.
Man, so many. But
you know, God helped us, and we for sure want to share those gems to help you guys because I mean we are honest, open, and authentic about, you know, our trials and tribulations and the things we've learned through our courtship and what God has shown us and revealed to us to help us to continue to grow, you know, more in love with each other and more responsive to God in our relationship. So yeah, thank y'all for tuning in.
Thank you so much. If you have not yet, please like and subscribe to this channel. If you have any comments, any questions, feel free to drop them below. Oh, we promised the people a rap battle. Yep. Don't mess my beat up. I love Jesus. I love
Well, there's her part of the rap.
Take two.
Sorry, guys.
I love Jesus. I love him so much. Yeah. He's the savior of my life. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
She loves Jesus. She loves him so much.
Yeah. Please stop hating on me. Find Jesus and get some peace. You worry about me all night and day, but Jesus loves me anyway. I don't, can't stay on beat. Getting a little tired like happy feet. It's okay, cause my name is Imani. Spring is coming, it's kinda sunny. Hey, you wanna laugh, but I love him. That's my better half. Hey. It's okay. Do your dance anyway. Ooh. If you are a friend of ours, that means that we love you so much. Go ahead and drop your name in the comments. Hey.
Yeah.
Take his hat off, he's serious. Oh.
Yeah, kicking it with Imani. Shout out to Jesus Christ. He died on the cross, save ourselves for our life. Y'all know we doing the big. We came here to share the gospel, try to stay on the beat, but we ain't gonna stop because you know we love the gospel. Yeah. So my topic date night, y'all. Yeah. Yeah, date night, date night, date night, date night, date night,
whoa,
date night,
whoa,
date night, 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 date night. Yeah, Wednesday, me and Money do date night. She like to fly kites, I like to ride bikes. Yeah, we go and have a good time. We like to evangelize sometimes. Yeah, we like to tell people about Jesus Christ. We bad in the mud when we talk about Christ. I got off beat a little bit, but it's cool, cause Jesus Christ got my back. Hey, we both can't rap as y'all can see. Hey, but we love to try to stay on beat. Hey, and when I hear the gospel song, I step my feet. Hey, and then I watch God do it with me. Hey, 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 hey.
No fear about your beat was as good as mine, and that's why I wrote it all.
Thank you guys for tuning in today.
I have
please
another
let us
rap.
know at the bottom who won the rap battle.
Yeah.
That she continues to beat and make the beat for us. We're gonna head out. Make sure you guys subscribe and like. And if you ain't already,
look at your food.
come and check us out. Come and check us out again. And we're out. Thank you.